Federal government acquires $8.5 million calibration aircraft as navigational aid across Nigerian airports. Nigeria Immigration Service implements revised visa fees for Americans. In international news, opposition mounts to British Prime Minister's move to suspend Parliament as Brexit deadline nears. And in sport, Falconets defeat Cameroon to win gold in women's football events at the African Games.
This is ANN News.
I am Olajumoke Olatunji. Imo State government has ordered the arrest of Senator Rochas Okorocha. The state government accused the former governor of assault on chairman of the Recovery of Government Properties, Jasper Ndubuku. Secretary to Imo State government, Uche Onyagocha, says Ndubuku was beaten blue-black at Okorocha's residence. He said the state had also placed Okorocha on security watch and urged Imo State citizens to arrest him and alert the government whenever they found him in the state. The Commissioner of Police in the state, Rabiu Ladodo, also announced that a citizen's arrest had been declared on Okorocha over the incident. All parties claim Okorocha hired thugs to attack Ndubuku, who doubles as special advisor to Governor Emeka Ihedioha on security matters. The federal government has taken delivery of an $8.5 million calibration aircraft for navigational aids across Nigerian airports. Minister of Aviation Hadi Sirika says the aircraft would make Nigeria's airspace safer. Sirika says the aircraft would help calibrate the nation's equipment and aids in the country for the purpose of flight operations, which has always been contracted to South Africa at about $500,000 every 6 months. Nigeria had just one calibration aircraft that stopped working 20 years ago. The minister said the reconstruction of the Abuja airport runway prompted the procurement of the aircraft. He also said there was need to recalibrate all the landing aids. The federal government's homegrown national school feeding program has been inaugurated in Lagos and will kick off when primary school students resume next month. Chairman of Lagos State Universal Basic Education Board, Dr. Oluremi Shokmayi, has urged administrators of public primary schools in Lagos State to work towards stopping all forms of social vices in pupils. Commissioner for Education, Folashade Adefisayo, has asked head teachers to key into the government dream of qualitative education in public schools. The federal government says the program is to improve enrollment of primary school children in Nigeria and reduce primary school dropout rate that is currently estimated at 30%. The National School Feeding Program is part of President Buhari's Social Investment Program and a key component of his campaign. The program was inaugurated in 2016 by Vice President Yemi Osinbajo and is presently in 30 states. Controller General of Nigeria Immigration Service, Muhammad Babandide, has reduced the fees Americans pay for Nigerian visa by $20. Director for the reduction was given by Minister of Interior Ogbeni Rauf Aregbesola. NIS spokesman Sunday James says the change had been effected on the service portal. Visa fees for Americans is now back to $160. ANN had reported earlier that the U.S. government was increasing U.S. visa fees for Nigerians to reciprocate Nigeria's fee increase. U.S. visa fees vary depending on visa classification. Employees are not simply workers, as they are people with personal lives. In fact, it is their personal lives which often help motivate them as employees and give them the diverse experiences they need to bring new ideas into the workforce. When employers offer on-site childcare facilities for the employee, those workers, especially women with infants, believe the company values them. As the Badmus reports, a Nigerian company is blazing the trail in the provision of on-site childcare facility at work.
Firm Andelo prides itself as the best place to work in Africa, and this is part of the reason why. A creche for working mothers in the organization to take care of their babies while at work. It's not something common in both government and private workplaces in Nigeria, but has become a standard practice here at Andela. Something Toby, a product manager at the firm and whose baby is also here, says is giving her peace of mind and make her function better at work.
Imagine Andela giving me that option of, we have a crèche, we take care of your child well. And you know, there was that peace, there was that savings that I didn't have to spend so much. And I just felt really excited, and I just felt, oh, this is definitely going to be a very good organization, because what this actually tells me is that they are very big on female inclusiveness.
It's the same story for another young mom who also works for the firm. Shayo Osemabo, a senior performance coordinator at Andela, is part of the team that created the crèche for the firm. She says the initiative has been quite helpful for young working mothers in the firm to maintain a work-life balance.
When she started here, I had to be in a lot of meetings because we're rolling out like a new product, a new performance management tool, and so I had to like be coordinating that whole thing, and that means that I had to either come early or leave really late. But the fact that we have the crèche here and the nannies were willing to stay late or later really made me like comfortable. I was able to do work well. I wasn't like thinking that, okay, so my child is still in this place and I don't know, someone needs to leave. But the fact that my child was in this building and the nanny was here, and I could also check in on her using the webcams that we use. So it was really great.
For many women, having a baby means a career pause. And because of limited support for mothers in the workplace, including childcare facilities in majority of the companies in Nigeria, some other women have had it worse.
I've actually seen women who have had to quit their jobs in order to nurture their children. And this affects mothers in so many ways, because then your growth in your career there's probably like a delay or a stagnancy, and then you know when you have to leave your job, then getting back into the system sometimes is quite difficult. Companies should actually embrace supporting females, yes, in the workplace.
And the good thing is that her firm is one of the very few setting the pace in gender inclusiveness and supporting females in the workplace.
Coming up, African news. Kenyan census marred by murder, rape, and arrest. And later, international stories. Boris Johnson faces opposition to his move to suspend parliament.
You are watching ANN.
This used to be me. But that was before I got the perfect bag. It's handy and easy to use. All I need in one compact space, just like my MTN Extra Value plan. I used to get one plan for my calls and then try to remember which data plan worked for me. Roaming was a totally different ballgame. Not anymore. I've got the MTN Extra Value all-in-one plan. If you're a data buff like me, you get extra data with some talk time. And if you like to make calls, you get extra talk time with some data. And when I'm abroad, I automatically browse, chat, and call right on the same plan. MTN Extra Value was made just for me.
More of data or calls, whichever one you prefer. MTN Extra Value is made just for you.
Welcome back. This is ANN News and African Stories. Kenya's groundbreaking census began on Monday, and for the first time, citizens are being given the option to identify themselves as male, female, or intersex. So far, the census has been marred by murder, rape, and arrest of people manipulating results and blocking census officials. 7 Kabanokia sect members were arrested on Wednesday night for declining to be counted. 7 of them, family members, were arrested for telling enumerators the process is satanic because they will be counted in heaven. 2 other sect members were arrested in Kitio on Wednesday when they failed to cooperate with enumerators. They said they have been counted in the Bible. Authorities have not said what charges the suspects will face. The Statistics Act of 2019, which was signed into law by President Uhuru Kenyatta in July, prescribes a penalty of 500,000 Kenyan shillings or $5,000 for any person who is charged with obstructing census officials. Angola has received a United Nations aid of $165 million to handle projects to soften the effects of the drought currently sapping the southern provinces of the country. UN resident coordinator in Angola, Pierre Paulo, announced the aid on Wednesday at the end of a meeting with the National Assembly Speaker, Fernando Dias dos Santos. Belladera says the project will take 4 years and will improve the capabilities of the population in regard to the drought phenomenon. He also announced another $9 million project on social money transfers that would benefit at least 14 vulnerable families in 4 provinces. He said the European Union has the resources and UNICEF will make the transfers in partnership with some national banks. Climate change is a major topic in Africa now, especially with the devastating effects noticeable in agricultural settings, unusual weather patterns across the continent, and the desolation of forest land. As Koleta Wanjohi reports, African delegates to the 8th Conference on Climate Change and Development in Africa, the wraps up in Addis Ababa today, have urged development nations to deliver pledged funding on climate change.
As the world grapples with the effect of climate change, the consequences across Africa are becoming more urgent.
Early this year, tropical cyclones Idai and Kenneth ripped through 5 African countries, Mozambique, Malawi, Tanzania, Zimbabwe, and the Comoros, both within a period of 1 month. More than 1,000 lives lost, $100 billion in damages, and it will take at least $2 billion, perhaps more, to mount an effective recovery and the needed rehabilitation efforts.
Delegates from countries around Africa are here to prepare for an upcoming UN Climate Summit. They say there is no shortage of ideas, but the answer lies in implementation.
Since the Paris Agreement was concluded, emissions have not necessarily come down, or if they have come down, it's not at the rate that was anticipated in the agreement, and it's certainly not at the rate that is necessary to ensure that we do avoid dangerous interference with the climate system. So we do know that there are problems. There are a multitude of problems that need to be addressed.
The UN says Africa is only responsible for 4% of greenhouse gas emissions, but 65% of the continent is directly impacted by climate change. So African governments are being urged to take action.
We have the solution to climate change and only need the political will to make it happen. Then the intriguing question that immediately arises is, why is political will so lacking?
Part of the problem is finding the funds. Nearly $3 trillion is needed to finance plans to tackle climate change, according to the UN. African countries hope to get this from their national budgets, continental financial institutions, and foreign assistance. Developed nations have pledged $100 billion annually to help developing countries deal with environmental issues. African delegates are calling on them to deliver on this commitment because without their backing, climate plans could remain an empty promise.
Gambia's founding father, Sir Dawda Kairaba Jawara, has been given a state funeral in the capital, Banjul, on Thursday. Jawara filled the Gambia for more than 30 years as Prime Minister and later as its first president after independence from Great Britain. Jawara died on Tuesday in Banjul at 95. Gambia President Adama Barrow said at the funeral the entire Gambian nation was in a state of mourning because it has lost its first premier, Prime Minister, and President of more than 30 years. Speaker of the Gambia National Assembly, Mariam Jack Denton, says he was known for his integrity, kindness, and a sense of humor. Sir Dawda led his country to independence from Britain in 1965 and to full republic status in 1970, at which time he became the president. He led the country until 1994 when he was deposed in a bloodless military coup led by Yahya Jammeh, who went on to rule for 22 years. Sir Dawda then lived in Britain until he returned to his homeland in 2002.
When we return, international news. Opposition grows to UK Prime Minister's move to suspend Parliament to aid his Brexit plan. And later, sport. Falconets defeat Cameroon to win gold in women's football events at the African Games.
You are watching ANN.
Welcome back. This is ANN News, now to world events. There is mounting criticism on Thursday to British Prime Minister Boris Johnson's move to suspend Parliament until mid-October, just weeks before Britain scheduled departure from the European Union. Lawmakers opposed to Johnson's planned no-deal withdrawal from the European Union at the end of October will have to find a way to block him in order to avoid the risk of a disorderly separation. Johnson's maneuver sparked protests broke out outside Parliament and in other towns and cities in the UK over Johnson's maneuver. An online petition against the move has also been signed by more than 1 million persons. The move has also sparked friction within Johnson's Conservative Party and triggered accusations from critics that the government was threatening Britain's democracy by dismissing the norms of the country's unwritten constitution. Legal challenges have been announced and legislators have asked the Scottish court to rule the suspension of Parliament illegal. And leading anti-Brexit campaigner Gina Miller said she has applied for an expedited judicial review challenging the effect and intention of the suspension. The U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, says nearly 900 cases of mumps, yes mumps, were recorded among people at adult migration detention facilities across the United States in the last year. The CDC said on Thursday the virus swept across 57 detention centers in 19 states, sickening nearly 1,000 migrants from September last year to now. 33 staff members were also infected. The CDC said the virus continues to spread as more migrants are arrested or transferred among facilities. Mumps is a contagious virus that causes swollen glands, puffy cheeks, fever, headaches, and in severe cases, hearing loss and meningitis. Hurricane Dorian is sparking up strength and aiming for the U.S. state of Florida by Friday, promising to mess up this Labor Day weekend. The National Hurricane Center said late on Thursday, Dorian is expected to become a major hurricane by Friday and remain an extremely dangerous hurricane through the weekend as it soaks up the warm Atlantic waters. Forecasters predict that Dorian could slam into southeastern Florida early Monday as a Category 4 hurricane with winds of at least 209 kilometers per hour. Category 4 storms are capable of what experts describe as catastrophic damage, destroying homes and stores, ripping up roads and knocking down trees and power lines. Governor Ron DeSantis has declared a state of emergency for the entire state. U.S. President Donald Trump has cancelled a planned trip to Poland, saying he wants to ensure federal government's resources are focused on the storm. Labor Day is a U.S. federal holiday honoring the American worker. It is celebrated on the first Monday in September. This year is the 125th anniversary of the day being celebrated as a national holiday. Most businesses and schools are closed on Labor Day. Have you ever gone into your auto repair shop in the morning to fix your car, then return at night to find the same shop transformed into a busy restaurant? While in Mexico City, one auto shop is just that, juggling multiple operations at once. Reporter Alex Zadaya Beverstock reports business success often comes down to finding your niche.
An auto mechanics workshop in Mexico City, complete with hydraulic lifts, transmission changes and car wax. But look more closely and some things might appear out of place. At 7 p.m, the Mechanics closes for business, and an hour later reopens as a taco stand, and one of Mexico City's most popular at that.
For people who come for the first time, it can be very strange that this place is a car mechanics in the day and a taco stand at night. It's strange, but very interesting. But the people who come regularly, it's the flavor that keeps them coming back.
Located in the La Narvarte district, El Vilcito has been in business for 33 years. The stand serves a Mexico City staple, tacos al pastor, marinated pork stacked shawarma style, grilled and then eaten in a corn tortilla. People come from across the capital to eat here.
It's the simplicity of the place. You show up, hang out at the grill, eat where you stand, and the sauce they make here, for me, it's the best in all of Mexico.
Today, the shop's fame has spread and the operation has expanded to accommodate the demand. The profits have also allowed the owners to open 2 more formal restaurants close by. Nicolas Garcia is a Mexico City food tour guide, and for his clients, this is an unmissable stop.
It's the type of dining is something that Mexican people love. You know, instead of going down to a restaurant and sitting down, people love eating tacos like this on the streets. And it's very common that popular businesses start like this. It's a family thing, somebody starts serving a good dish, and word starts to spread until eventually it becomes like a successful business.
The owners here at Mexico City's transforming shopfront say that while the success of their business has been boosted by the novelty of the enterprise, that it's the quality of the service in both operations that guarantees their financial future.
Still to come, sports. Falconets win gold at 2019 African Games. Please stay with us.
You are watching ANN.
Whether in your house, at your office, on your phone or online, we are there. We have the facts behind the headlines. We cut to the chase with the news you really need. We cover every angle. We are the bigger, better news network. We are African News Network. ANN. Watch ANN News on MITV from a truly African spirit. We are on the road every day, canvassing throughout Africa for news you really need. We follow the story everywhere, from every corner of Nigeria to the wide African expanse. We bring you what's making headlines. We connect you with news you can use. ANN, African News Network, in a truly African spirit.
Welcome back. This is ANN News. In sport, Niger's under-20 female football team, the Falconets, are champions of the women's soccer event of the 12th African Games in Morocco after defeating Cameroon 3-2 on penalties. The keenly contested game ended goalless at regulation and extra time. Falconets are one of only 4 teams to have featured in every edition of the FIFA Under-20 Women's World Cup since inception 17 years ago. The Tigers are hopeful of a bright start when they face Russia in their opening game at the 2019 FIBA Men's World Cup in China on Saturday. Alex Nwara's side is making a return to the World Cup for the first time in 23 years. Team captain Ike Diogo says Russia would make a good test for the team. That is ANN News this evening. Thank you for joining us. For details on these and other breaking stories, visit our website, annafrica.news. Conversation continues on our social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at ANN Africa TV. I am Olajumoke Olatuji. Have a great weekend.